What's up, y'all? This is Carla, aka Seela the Poet, and I'm having an insomniac night. So, whenever I have an insomniac night, it gives me time to reflect, draw inspiration, and sometimes create. I was thinking about writing a blog, but then I decided to do a video clip because it's been a while. So, how has everybody been doing? I hope everybody's been keeping safe during the pandemic, keeping the faith, and staying strong. So, I am a survivor of domestic violence and family violence, and I'm also a Christian goth. In a sense, these two things kind of make me like a black sheep. Now, for those who don't know what a black sheep means, let me read the definition. So, according to the dictionary, a black sheep is an odd and reputable member of a group or a family. Okay, and sometimes this person is considered bad or worthless by others or considered different or kind of an outcast. I'll also read you the definition of outcast. So, outcast means a person who has been rejected by society or a social group. A person that has been rejected or cast out. Someone that may have been excluded or ignored or doesn't fit into normal society. And sometimes these people can be isolated. So, I'm speaking about my experience as kind of a black sheep. I don't really kind of consider myself, I kind of consider myself a black sheep, but I feel more like I'm a black rose. Basically because I have a lot more self-esteem than I did at one time in my life. So I love roses, and roses are beautiful and unique, and I consider myself kind of like I'm a black rose. So my thoughts on being a scapegoat, not a scapegoat. My thoughts on being a black rose, and my thoughts on being of having the experience of being an outcast. So I've been through a lot of hell in my family. I went through a lot of dysfunction. I went through a lot of abusive behavior. When you come from a family that is toxic or narcissistic, everybody has their role that they play. And when someone becomes a truth seeker or a truth teller or a whistleblower, in a sense, somebody exposes what's really going on in the family or confronts certain behaviors in a family that are either violent, evil, or unacceptable, then that person is then made a scapegoat and a target. The person usually is telling the truth and one of the most realistic people in the family. And because the family is usually on a different level mentally, emotionally, they will scapegoat the person. And the person then becomes the black sheep, not because they wanted to, but because the family can't accept that person's truth. The person that is the black sheep or the outcast is usually on a higher level than the rest of the family, and has basically come into truth and come into reality. And sometimes the other family members have not. They are still caught in their toxicity and abusive behavior. And the person, like I said, becomes a scapegoat or the black sheep. The family blames that person and heaps all the blame and all the criticism on that person. because then they don't have to look at themselves and they don't have to look at their issues and their wrongdoing and their abusive and inappropriate behavior. So the scapegoat kind of gets blamed for all the problems in the family and all the issues that are going on. The scapegoat is usually gossiped about. Nobody can say a positive thing about this scapegoat. The person is talked bad about, insulted, and, people spread false accusations and rumors and lies about the person that is the scapegoat or the black sheep. And that's how the black sheep and the outcast gains a bad reputation. And it's really because of, the family's inability to take accountability, for their part in the dynamic. And, they want to keep, in a sense, the status quo. You know how in our society, when you have racist people that want things to stay a certain way and don't want certain changes because certain people of a certain racial background, in many cases white, will remain in privilege. And so there's this sense of not wanting to rock the boat. Well, it's the same thing in an abusive and narcissistic family. Everybody has their role and people want a certain dynamic to continue, and it's unhealthy though. It's unhealthy, and it causes issues and it causes problem and it causes hurt. And usually the black sheep or the scapegoat will say, no way, I'm not doing this anymore. No freaking more. It's time for me to move on. It's time for me to get away. It's time for me to get out of here. And that's what I did. I walked away after I was assaulted, and I was threatened. I got tired of that dynamic, and I decided to fight back, but not violently. Fight back in a sense by, going to the proper authorities, the court system, and, domestic violence agencies. And I got myself some help. I went to therapy. I went through, a lot of different things to get to the point where I am today, for healing purposes. And I'm really damn proud of where I am today. And I'm only here because God brought me to this point. And I say to anybody who feels like they don't belong, or who basically the people you're surrounded by or your family members that have problems and have issues try to make you think everything is your fault. It's not your fault, and it's not your fault that you don't belong. Sometimes you aren't born to just fit in. Sometimes you're born to stand out. And sometimes, once someone makes you a black sheep, or someone makes it so that you're put in that situation, maybe you're meant to leave those people behind and find another tribe. Or maybe you're meant to leave those people behind and go on a new journey of self-discovery and self-awareness. That's basically, a bit of my story. That's what I had to go through. You basically sometimes find yourself after going through situations like that. And what I went through, it wasn't easy. It was hellish. Oh yeah, once I decided to walk away, once I decided to leave, I had people threatening me. I had people lying on me. I had people saying false allegations against me, falsely accusing me of crimes. I went through a lot just for me to walk away. And to this day, you know, evil is such that it's not understood. You know, it logically sometimes doesn't make sense because, see, while I was there in the family, right, people treated me like shit and they didn't treat me right. And, you know, I wasn't treated in the manner that I should have been treated, you know? And so when I walk away, why do all of that? You know, it just doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense at all. But I'm just really, really glad, you know, irregardless, you know, of my experience of being the black sheep and being the outcast, that you can thrive and you can survive it and you can be an overcomer in the midst of it. You know, that is my story. I overcame it. And, you know, I consider myself a rebel. I consider myself a rebel, you know, and I consider myself kind of a badass because of all the things that I survived. It's only the grace and the power of God that allowed me to survive those things. I prayed my way through most of my experiences. I had people praying for me, and I prayed myself and called out to God during all those experiences because a lot of times God was the only person I had, you know, and a lot of people didn't understand. When you try to explain it to other people, sometimes they don't understand it because they're not in that mind frame. They're not going through what you're going through. So, guys, you know, if you're a black sheep, if you're an outcast, own it. You know, own it and use it as a building block to build your own life. You know, use it as a building block to spur your own creativity, you know. And that's all I have to say. So I hope that everybody stays safe during the pandemic. Keep your head up. Stay prayerful. Okay? And until next time, I'll be posting some new content soon. Peace.